Hey, it's Andrew, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to cover 5 Facebook ad myths that are costing you money. These are the types of things that get perpetuated for multiple different reasons. Maybe we see these things or hear this advice and we just copy it on blind faith. But often this advice is based on either hyperbole or it's completely unproven and just thrown out there and people follow it without thinking twice. So let's break down each of these myths and talk about what you should do instead. The first one is warming up your ad account using website clicks or engagement campaigns. Now, I think the reason this started is as a way to try and prevent new ad accounts from getting shut down. So the idea being that you run website clicks or engagement campaigns for a few weeks or a month in order to prevent the ad account getting shut down, or the other reason that I've heard is to warm up the pixel. Now, both of these are completely unnecessary, and here's why. While it is common for Facebook to shut down new accounts or suspend or ban new accounts, the reason they do this isn't because you're running a conversion campaign. The reason they do this is because of negative feedback on the account. See, we know that for every Facebook ad account, Facebook keeps an account quality score. In other words, they're looking at and ranking the quality of every advertiser's Facebook ad account. And if the feedback score or the quality score on an ad account gets too low, then you'll end up with an account that gets banned. What also happens for accounts that have low quality scores is their ads are more expensive. Yes, Facebook have actually told us that they charge us more if the account quality is low. So when you start a brand new ad account, your account quality or your account history starts at 0. You've established no trust with Facebook, you've established no credibility with them, and so if your first few ads get rejected, then what happens is Facebook are very likely to ban or shut down the account because they look at it and see that a large percentage of your overall ads have been rejected. For example, let's say you set up 5 different ads and 2 of them get rejected. Well, that means that 40% of your ads have been rejected. And that's because the sample size is so small. It's a new account, you haven't had many ads approved yet, but you've gone and had a few ads rejected, therefore the percentage gets thrown way off. And so the important thing here isn't that you're not running a conversion campaign. The important thing here is that you are very careful and you make sure that you are 100% compliant when you're first getting started. The other thing to really try and do is create ads that your audience will enjoy and that they will like seeing in the newsfeed. Don't be hyper aggressive with these ads when you're first starting out. Don't really push the limit and push the envelope to try and get more conversions. Be careful. Create ads that are more enjoyable for your audience, meaning they're informative, they're helpful, they're engaging. That means you can still run conversion campaigns just fine without getting your ad account shut down, and you don't have to waste money on engagement and clicks campaigns just to try and warm up the account or warm up the pixel. Totally unnecessary. All right, let's move on to the second one now, and that is that you can't use the words you or your in your ads. Now, this is completely untrue. You can use you and your in your ads as much as you want. The reason this seems to have come about is because of the way people use these words in their ads. It's all about context and not about specific words, meaning it's about how you use these in your ads versus what actual words you use. The only words you really shouldn't use in your ads are swearing and specific things that are prohibited by Facebook. So for example, they prohibit advertising guns, cannabis and CBD, and a bunch of other things. You really should look at the policy and see what is specifically prohibited and make sure that you're not talking about those things. Obviously, that's going to lead to ads getting immediately rejected and accounts getting shut down. But apart from that, you can use any word you want. And if you see these lists talking about different words to avoid in your ads because you get ads rejected, apart from swearing and those very specific prohibited things, you can use whatever word you want. It's all about context. Let's look at some examples. So one of Facebook's ad policies that often gets people into trouble is the rule around no personal attributes, meaning you can't call out somebody's personal attributes. Here are a few examples of non-compliant uses of the word you and your in this case. Cure your acne in under a week. Join other Christians just like you. And struggling to pay your bills? Okay, now all of those are non-compliant because in the context that you and your has been used in those situations, you're actually calling out personal attributes. Now, one way that you could use your in a way that is compliant is you could say, how would your business look if you were adding 2 to 3 new clients every week? That uses the word your, but it's totally fine. Another example is, Here are 3 things you can use to get your baby to sleep through the night. Now, that uses both you and your, but it's not going to get you in any trouble whatsoever because of the context in which those words are used. You have to be really careful to stay within Facebook's ad policy, and it's not just about the words you use, it's about how you use them. Okay, moving on to the next one, but before we do, remember, if you enjoy this video, please tap that like button. It makes a huge difference to the channel, and I really do appreciate it. And if you want to hear more from me, hit subscribe, hit that little bell, and you'll get notified whenever I release a new video. Alright, so the next myth is that you need to be hyper-specific with your targeting in order to get good results. Now, this was something that was true a few years ago. The more specific you could get in terms of targeting and finding your exact audience on the platform, the better your results would be. But in recent times, that has changed significantly. As Facebook's machine learning algorithm and their AI has got better and more intelligent, we see now that Facebook can actually do a better job of finding our audience amongst a bigger pool than it used to be able to. So what we're seeing now is, rather than going hyper specific and doing things like layering interests and layering demographics and really narrowing down, what we find is if we go with broader interests or with big lookalike audiences and let Facebook do the rest of the heavy lifting for us, we're getting better results. What I'm seeing across multiple accounts is that hyper targeting, and the smaller the audiences are, the higher our CPMs are and the worse our results. But with big broad audiences and using our copy and creative to actually target and hone in on our audience, meaning speaking directly to the people we want to get in front of, we are getting better results. We're getting lower CPMs, lower cost per lead, and lower cost per purchase. Now, of course, if you've got a product or a service that is only purchased by a specific demographic, let's say you've got something that's only for women, then yeah, by all means, you would only want to target women in that case. But where you don't need to narrow down to specific demographics, then I recommend not doing that. And the same with your interest or your lookalike targeting. If you go broad now, you will see better results than going hyper specific. Okay, now this next one is a little strange, but I'm seeing it more and more, and I don't know why. I feel like it's just because advertisers are seeing other advertisers do this, and so they're copying and doing the same. But that is putting the little trademark or TM sign next to the word Facebook or Instagram whenever it's mentioned inside of ad copy. So you'll see this in the feed now that I've mentioned it. Whenever somebody mentions Facebook or Instagram, they'll put a little TM next to the word. Totally unnecessary, totally not needed. I don't know why this started, how this started, because Facebook actually have specific policy and guidelines on the use of their trademarks. So you can see exactly what Facebook want you to do when they mention Facebook or Instagram, or probably even Meta now, when you're running ads. The basic rules are that you need to use the whole word, meaning Facebook and Instagram, not FB or IG, and you should use a capital at the start. So it's just Facebook with a capital F or Instagram with a capital I, and that's it. You really don't need anything else. And if you're going to run ads and you're using the Facebook trademarks, make sure you go and have a look at that policy and just make sure it's compliant. But you definitely don't need to put a little TM every time you mention those words. Now, this next one is something I actually did for a long time, and that is assuming that lookalike audiences are always going to be my best audiences. And the reason I did this was because for a long time, they actually were. So lookalike audiences, if you don't know, they're basically, you take a customer list or a list of website visitors or any other existing audience that you have, and you create a lookalike audience, meaning you give that to Facebook and you tell Facebook to find more people like them. So if you can upload a big list of your existing customers, Facebook will then go and find you a bunch of new people that are very similar to your existing customers. And so we assume that that is going to be a fantastic audience to target, because Facebook are going out using all of the data that they have on everybody to find really similar audiences for you. And those lookalikes, where we had a big customer list or big list of website visitors or leads to upload, would outperform interest targeting most of the time. But since iOS 14.5, that's actually starting to change. And what I'm seeing is interest targeting is starting to outperform lookalikes in many, many cases. So that belief that lookalikes are always going to be better than your interest audiences is starting to become a little bit untrue, and it's starting to change. And I recommend, if you are relying heavily on lookalikes and you've noticed higher CPMs or lower performance in terms of lead cost or cost per purchase, that you start to try interest targeting again and start to try broad interest as well as a little extra bonus tip. Now, if you want to learn more about how to find those interests, check out this video here that I created that is all about that subject, and it's a really detailed look at how I pick interests. Thanks again for watching this video. Hope to see you soon. Bye.